That's all we heard. 10 minutes from somebody who can't know that he's not a brain in a vat. Debates presuppose truth. Matt says truth is that which corresponds to reality. Matt admits he can't know what's real. Everything he says so far is borrowing from my worldview. You can't know anything to be true unless you start with God.
All that you can say is that what you perceive to be logically true and absolute and necessary is nothing more than the result of chemical reactions in your brain.
Agreed.
Matt agrees that his view on logic is a result of the chemical reaction in his brain. I mean, would you come here today and listen to a debate? It was a bottle of Dr. Pepper arguing against a bottle of Mountain Dew. You shake them up and you open them and they start to fizz. Which of those fizzes would be true? Neither.
This is what happens when you take God out of the equation. It reduces you to an evolved meat machine, a set of chemical reactions that dictate how you feel, what you perceive to be true, and other things, and ultimately give you your meaning in life. What is lost to the people who cling to that point of view is that we are also spirit. We have a soul, and we can perceive, that soul can perceive things that our brain, our body, physical body cannot. And later in the debate, Sye says that the only way of knowing that something is true is by a revelation from God. And I agree with that. All the evidence and reasons he gives throughout the debate really point to that.
Still, we haven't heard how Matt knows anything to be true. That's a problem. Now, Matt has a definition of truth. Truth is that which corresponds to reality. You know what? I don't have any problem with that definition. But the problem is, according to truth is that which corresponds to reality, according to who? We all have different perceptions. So one of my favorite definition of truth used to be, truth is that which corresponds to reality as perceived by God, as perceived by an absolute perceiver. Because the thing is, we're all going to have different perceptions. But I didn't like that view because I think it adds an unnecessary step. So truth is whatever God says. Truth is whatever conforms to the mind of God. And without that, you can't know anything to be true. And in that Q&A, that's what we're going to find out. But first, I'd like to start off with this question for you, Matt.
Welcome to this debate between Sye Bruggencate and Matt Dillahunty. I absolutely agree with everything said by Sye, but I think there's something worth explaining as a future reference. Because Sye is a guest and the majority of the crowd, I guess, is atheistically minded, he stays away from talking about the spiritual world. What I think he's trying to say here is that there is a spiritual world where ultimate truth, ultimate moral standards, and other abstract things exist that we couldn't possibly perceive as mere human beings. We know that our moral standards, mathematics, and other things work, but we can't exactly explain why. The reason, I think, lies within the spirit realm, which, of course, God can tell us everything about. So let's see what question Sye has for Matt.
When you said this,
From the standpoint of objective reality, the belief that there is a God is a delusion.
do you still believe that?
Yes.
How do you know anything to be objectively real?
How do I know? What do you mean by know?
Well, the thing is, you made the claim that according to objective reality, belief in God is a delusion.
Yes, I'm stating what my belief is
Right.
about reality.
But you said according to objective reality.
Yes, I believe it's objective.
Okay, so how do you know anything to be objectively real when you've admitted you could be a brain in a vat?
What do you mean by know? Do you mean how am I aware of?
Right, how are you aware of objective reality?
I'm aware of reality through my senses.
But that's not what I asked you. I asked you how you're aware of what is objectively real, not what you perceive to be real.
So when I use the term objectively in this context, I'm using it in the sense of not subjective or not contingent upon any one mind within the scope of reality. For example, I'm convinced that I'm in a room with other people right now, and if they agree with me that I'm in a room with them, then we can then work together to investigate reality.
Right, but the fact is you've admitted you could be a brain in a vat.
I haven't admitted that I can be. I've
You could
admitted
be.
that I cannot prove that I'm not.
That's right, so therefore it follows that you could be.
But it doesn't follow that you could be. The fact that something hasn't been proved
That's
to
not
be
what I'm
false
saying.
does not mean that it's possible or true.
Okay, so you trust your senses and reasoning in order to determine what is real in your reality, right?
Yes.
On what basis do you trust your sense and reasoning?
On their continued reliability at producing effective results.
Okay, now when you... No, see, now the thing is...
Hang on, let him ask questions.
The thing that... It never ceases to amaze me that you don't see the folly of that answer. Because the thing is, he said on their continued reliability. How does Matt know whether they've been reliable in the past? How does Matt know they're reliable now? How does Matt know that they're going to be reliable? Do you know why? Because he uses them to prove it. On what basis do you trust your sense and reasoning when you determine that they've been reliable?
It's not a vicious circle. If you want to know if a pen works, you pick it up and use it. Is it circular to pick it up and use it? If so, then I'll admit that this is circular.
Is it circular? Is it circular? Is it circular to use your reasoning to justify your reasoning?
What Sye talks about here happens on different levels. First of all, a very simple example would be all of us have those friends who think they're always right. Okay? No matter what you say to them, they are convinced they are right about something and they refuse to change their point of view. This is a very simple case of delusion, or somebody who is just being deceived by something or somebody. Propaganda is one way of achieving that, but some people are just too arrogant to accept that they might be wrong. And in my personal opinion, this happens all too often with intellectuals who think that their intellect for some reason is superior to the intellect of the rest of the people. Like another thing is, like Sye pointed out, all of us perceive the world differently. We all might have the same set of senses, but we come to different conclusions. We can look at the same evidence and come to a different conclusion. So you have that as well. And I saw this happen in another debate. One of the persons defending the Christian point of view asked the atheist, what would be sufficient evidence to convince you that God exists? And they quickly came up with something saying that, oh, if tonight I wake up and I see on the moon something that reads, I'm God and I'm real, blah, 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 then this, I think, should be enough to convince me. And then the Christian replied, but wouldn't you believe that you're hallucinating then? Or dreaming, or whatever? And that was a very fair point, because previously the atheists in that same debate were saying that the first Christians were experiencing group hallucination when they all saw Jesus after he died and was resurrected. We can examine the same evidence and come to different conclusions. That's why we need an ultimate arbiter, an ultimate truth